This story begins in a chicken house far on the other side of town. The sun had set and all the chickens were jumping up onto their roosts to go to bed for the night. Now among them there was a certain plump little white hen who always laid her proper number of eggs and was respectable in every way. And it so happened, as she leaped up to her roost, that she accidentally pecked herself with her beak, and a tiny little feather fell out. "There it goes," cried the little white hen gaily. And then, only trying to be funny, mind you, she added, "There's no use denying it, girls. The more I peck myself, the prettier I become." But in the darkness, the hen who sat on the next roost, and who was just on the point of falling asleep, heard this innocent remark. Well, no, she didn't quite hear it either, if you know what I mean. Anyway, she was suddenly shocked wide awake at what she thought she had heard. "Did you hear that?" she whispered excitedly to the sleepy hen on the other side of her. "There's a hen in this very chicken house, and I'm not mentioning any names, who is going to peck out all her feathers so that she can be beautiful and attract the rooster." Now just above them sat the old owl. He was just getting up for his night's work, and he couldn't help overhearing what the second hen had said. Or maybe we should say what he thought she had said. "Woo, woo, woo, woo." He hooted to the doves nestling in their dovecotes. "There's a certain hen who has pulled out all her feathers for the sake of the rooster. They say she is dying of the cold, might even be dead right now for all I know. It's the truth." And off he flapped. Well, the doves lost no time in spreading this juicy bit of news. "Coo, coo," they said. "There's a hen, some say 2 hens, and they've plucked out all their feathers to attract the rooster's attention. Last we heard, they both had caught a cold and were running a high fever and were not expected to live. It's the absolute truth." And so the absolute truth spread on. "Wake up! Wake up! Oh! Wake up!" crowed the cock as he flew up on a sawhorse to speak to the hens. "I have an important announcement to make. I must tell you that all 3 hens have died, and all for love of me. These 3 silly hens plucked out all their feathers, thinking they would be more attractive to me, and have thus died of the cold. I take no responsibility, let me add, but let the news be carried on further, for it is only the truth." And so the chickens clucked on the truth, and the ducks quacked it, and the turkeys gobbled it, and the peacocks screamed it, till finally the story had spread to every farm in the country. And at last it came back to the very chicken house from which it had all started. And this is how it now went. 5 hens plucked out all their feathers to show off which of them had become thinnest out of love for the rooster. Do you imagine that? And then they got into a terrible quarrel and pecked and pecked and pecked at each other until they all fell down dead. Isn't that a shame and a disgrace? Oh, I never heard anything like that in my entire life. I certainly would like to be one of those. The jolly little hen who had lost the feather in the first place and made the funny remark which had been the start of the whole thing didn't even recognize the story at all. She was just as shocked as everyone else. "A story like that should not be hushed up," said she indignantly. "You must remember that she was a very respectable hen." What those wicked hens did should be printed in the newspapers as a lesson to all. And sure enough, the story was printed in the newspapers all over the country, and now you have heard it too. And remember, it's perfectly true. One little feather can easily become 5 hens.